Gen G on the blue side, and what are we going to see tonight? That's the real question.
I would have not even been surprised if Gen G ended up opting into red side. I think the first game in the best of 5, it makes a lot of sense, but say that T1 do end up winning here, I wouldn't be surprised to see them switch, and it's specifically because of Zeus. The man got triple POG. His aggression was sometimes to the detriment of T1 in the regular season, but we've seen this playoffs that he warps the game like no other top laner that we have right now.
And a lot of the time it's with blind picks. The only real pick we're seeing from him as a counter as the R5 Vayne, and I'm not entirely sure he'll be playing that in this first game here. The Twisted Fate is already taken away. No Senna. They're not going to be walking into this one like we did see Hanwha Life give T1 the opportunity to. Yesterday, the Varus also that we saw incredible performances from Gumayusi on yesterday is gone. This leaves the Kalista up. And you're playing Lucian into the Kalista has been something we've seen T1 and Gumayusi specifically opt into, but it's going to be the Azir that goes to Faker, the biggest pick for mid across all of the playoffs. And I gotta say, this is going to be one we're going to be watching very closely across this best of 5. The Maokai is open for the first time here in the KSPO Dome. It's going to go over to Owner.
There were two options here for T1. I think the Azir was a no-brainer, both given Chovy's performance and Faker on this champion. But I was expecting maybe an Ashe Rumble to come out. That's been a really popular duo lane into Kalista lanes. As we've never seen that handshake before. The Nautilus, unsurprising, incredibly strong pick. When paired with the Kalista, both Lahens and Keria absolutely adore this. Be harder to play though.
The Draven we knew was coming. The debut pick for Gumayusi. And actually they pivot, perhaps, but I think the Draven is coming because it's the only pick realistically you can match the Kalista with right now in this meta. Guma does not play scaling AD carries into lanes like this. He wants to be the one in control. Very rarely will ever play weak side with Kero. We saw him play his second game of Zeri of the season yesterday. He's 0-2 on it now. He's going to match the Kalista here with an aggressive lane, but they won't have their choice of support necessarily. Gen G can now control this aspect of the bottom lane. They've already got their Nautilus locked in.
It's going to be a big question to see what we're going to have here in this bottom lane up against that Kalista for Keria. We know he can play a whole slew of things. Could even be the Maokai, but kind of doubt it in this
strongest
one.
Pick because of the bailout potential in those 2v2s where you have that extra life, you get the reset, you win that, you get that early cash in. So volatile.
Also really, really strong into Nautilus, makes it extremely hard for him to consistently engage. Is also, with this Maokai, there is still the possibility that this goes towards the bot side of the map. Maokai, obviously, with his ultimate, has a lot of value into these type of melee engage supports. And we see with this Renata ban that Gen G assume it's going to go towards Owner to see whether that actually remains true, because it could also be, say, a Poppy angle, right? We've seen the Azir Poppy come through. I think it's really good into Kalista as well, as the Jace taken away as a strong blind pick here towards the top half of the map.
Now they do have the R5 counter pick here for Zeus. It is the Poppy you mentioned going to come through, so the Maokai to bottom lane, very likely. It is technically possible the Poppy could be going top here. But it's going to be a Viego in response to come through for Canyon. And, Viego here with the Corki, not the strongest 2v2, but can be very strong in team fights with the Kalista's mid-game power. They look to change it up, though. The Rumble Hover. And the other pick here that is sticking out like a sore thumb to me is the Aatrox that's still available right now that we have not seen Zeus play a single game of in playoffs, even though he played 16 games of it. Was by far his most picked in regular season. The Viego will still come through. It's going to be the blind Rumble top.
And this composition of Gen G, I feel, is a little bit fast and loose. Your mid-jungle 2v2 is not looking too strong. Although Chovy obviously expected to do great things in mid to late game, you don't have, outside of the Nautilus, that much CC to set up. You do have the double equalizer combo for a lot of explosiveness, but T1 are going to be looking to playing an extremely strong front-to-back style. I think they already have great tools, and there's the Aatrox you mentioned, unsurprisingly. But the amount of CC that's available to get this Draven an early kill is always what I look towards when this champion is locked in. You need ways to guarantee an early kill, and with Poppy, and actually we didn't even consider this, but it could also be the Poppy support.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's fantastic into the Kalista, it's great into the Nautilus. I mean, try to engage onto this Poppy, I dare you, yes. If he uses his W in a kind of bad way, but I trust Keria to not do that. I mean, I think it's fantastic for setting up kills as well.
It's incredible for the martial pose. You know, you're going to have the bouncing Kalista just walk straight into...
This T1 will bronze you over.
They need to be good right from the get-go. It's got to start here in game number 1, and we are ready. Let's hop onto the rift. And off we go, game number 1 of the 2024 Spring Grand Finals here between, once again, Gen G and T1. And let's see who's going to draw first blood here, not just in this game, but in this series.
Looking at the rune choices, Paze, I imagine, is going to go for lethality, which feels kind of bad into double frontline. Aatrox, of course, also notoriously tanky when he gets his items.
Yeah.
But at the same time, realistically, auto-attacking into the composition of T1, I think, is going to be a really tough ask. Trying to get the most value out of that. Paze has looked, I think, the most consistent on the lethality. And then on the other end, we have Zeus going for Comet, which is common into these type of matchups where you really want to respect the Ignite Rumble. And Faker also going for Halo Blades for maximum early prio and the short trades.
I mean, I think a lot of this game for Gen G in terms of team fights later on is just going to be about poking until you get enough damage done to get that single elimination. Then the Viego gets that reset, and you have that as your late game power. The poke that the Kalista will offer as lethality can then help you chip into the Rumble Equalizer, leading to that first elimination. Then Canyon gets to run through the team fight. Longer fights, obviously, especially if Draven becomes online in the mid-game, becomes so much more difficult to play out. And it's going to be, again, package timings that we'll be watching a lot of the time here if Gen G is going to be winning those early fights into so much CC, so much lockdown between the Poppy ultimate, the Maokai ultimate, Azir, Emperor's Divide. There's so many ways that Gen G can get shut down in these early skirmishes. Both the Kalista and the Draven can be strong in those fights, but the ultimates favor T1.
Absolutely mega value ward here, because Canyon did Raptors then immediately look to invade the Maokai. Maokai in the 1v1 obviously really going to struggle into the Viego, so Canyon ended up wasting a huge amount of time trying to punish Owner, who just peeled off of his own Gromp. Did have to let that one go for now and have it reset, but he's going to still be pretty far ahead in early tempo. Big win there. He will be spotted here on the ward, but you saw as well Chovy was playing really aggressive for the mid shove so that they couldn't collapse. But Canyon really wasn't able to utilize that pressure. Owner withstands the first attempted blow.
I do love how Canyon pulled out the Viego for game number 1. You were talking about how it's not really great in the 2v2, but Owner just came off of a finals where he's like, I love this pick. It's not really highly rated per se. I think there are a lot of other picks in the jungle that are more highly rated, he said, and I still really like this one. And Canyon's like, you know what? I like it too. And they both love Lee Sin, as that hook, not going to hit, wouldn't have mattered if it did hit, because it's Poppy.
Big thing here as well is that you expect this early game to be really messy. Looking at Draven, looking at Kalista, looking at Poppy. Well, if the early game gets messy, if it gets into these skirmishes, Viego is a pick that can snowball due to the nature of his resets.
Yeah, if you can identify which fights you can take, this comp has a decent amount of engage as well, you know, with the Nautilus in it. And so I think, yeah, it's been a while.
Bro Talons, Delight, pulling it out versus Notion Talons Kellen in 2021, which was summer as well. That's the one actually D plus Kia
this
did win.
Situation T1 have found themselves in so many times. They've lost with the Draven themselves. They've lost with the Lucian when it was the Kalista they left open against Gen G. And they tried to match this way. It has not really been going well for them, or anyone for that matter, so far this season. Now, I think that if you look at the entirety of this draft, there's a lot of great tools to get Gumayusi into position to get those cash-ins early. But in isolation, definitely not a good start here in that particular matchup. Now, what I'm most looking forward to is, yes, you don't have an amazing frontline here for Gen G, but you have so much poke, and if played correctly, Canyon doesn't have to go in until the fight is already won by that neutral with Keen's ultimate, with Chovy's rockets, and the poke from the lethality Kalista. We'll see a little bit of a scuffle here.
Yeah, Owner doesn't necessarily have to do this, but definitely a nice little mental win. Gets the smite here as well. It gets ahead on levels, and we'll just... It's really important to have your jungler ahead, especially when these lanes are going to get pretty dicey.
Because that's the big thing that we haven't really talked about yet. Gen G is prio in all 3 lanes, which has given them a ton of vision. Main thing is to what extent are they going to be able to utilize that to generate actual objective pressure. We're going to see Canyon start up. He's going to finally hit level 4. And also look at the item buys that come through. Zeus has the TP early on.
getting in there. The flash on top of Zeus, who is going to have to respond flash away. Gets the ignite out of Keen, but it's pushing away from him now, and Zeus doesn't have teleport anymore.
And if he doesn't flash that and Keen gets him with the next harpoon there, he might just simply be dead. We'll have to flash eventually there, and it's just not going to mess around with it. But the wave, as you mentioned, really frustrating to deal with now. No TP, and the early prio here for Gen.G working out as it often does.
Also see FaZe indeed going for the early Dirk. I can, of course, go early Dirk into normal, more on-hit items, but I do expect that he will stick with the lethality, given that he's playing not just on the map, but into a direct 2v2 of the Poppy.
And he's trying to make a play here, and it's just going to be totally denied by the side of T1. As Guma will take a bunch of damage on the backside of that trade, though, so...
Flash 4 and Ignite in trade, though, definitely feeling good for T1. Yes, he does have Hex Flash, but he also burned his own Ignite, and the Steadfast Presence already making a huge impact.
Yeah, you can see the state of this lane up here, not great, but Zeus did come back. And Keen did go for Swifty Boots, as now going to try to chase after Zeus, who is going to World Ender and kind of just miss a bunch of stuff. Keen still on the chase. It's so difficult to get away from this rumble. And now Canyon's here. The flash on him, but he dodges the stun. And Zeus will be totally fine. Takes a nice little trade afterwards as well.
Bad Keen dodge. Bad Keen was hoping that he had his sword pen boots there. Maybe that could have been the difference maker. I'm sure Hooney is yelling on the TV right now. But as you point out, Wolf, the big thing there, Zeus sidestepping. Because Canyon investing the flash as well. You got to hit that W. That would have been enough with the passive of Viego to get the kill. Instead, Zeus battered, sure, but not going to go down.
No, even though they end up losing the Dragon for this play, I feel like it was not a fight Gen.G was necessarily going to look to take, as Azir takes control of this mid lane, has Emperor's Divide, can make a much larger impact than Chovy can. He'll only be fighting that Poppy Draven bottom side anyways, so making this type of play ends up being a huge boon for Gen.G. They know Zeus doesn't have teleport, so it's going to be Keen still maintaining a massive CS lead off of the play. He's still down his flash. You can see a follow-up gank as Lehend is on the roam.
Yeah, a little bit of a lane swap arena. It's a bit late in this one. We're not starting off with it and fully committing, but let's see how long they're going to spend in the top lane.
And this is one of the things you can do if you are the one with prio. Because the bot lane prio, they can shove out the wave. You see now, caught by Guma and Keria, and because Keen is rotating mid, Chovy obviously can just sit underneath the wave and clear. Zeus, I think he might have an inkling.
Oh, no, he's just going to run straight at him. Zeus, no flash, no World Ender, maybe no way to get out of this one as he gets pulled back, and the Ren comes through, flash forward, and FaZe will pick up first blood in the top lane.
I love that he saves the flash. Doesn't know exactly if the Ren will kill. Decent chance it does. If it doesn't, he can flash for the follow-up, and we'll secure that one. So first blood to Gen.G.
Double lane swap. We got Chovy in the bottom lane too.
As I was saying, because Keen playing into Faker is completely fine, but in the 1v2, the Rumble doesn't really get to clear the way for Chovy. He might have to drop a little bit, but it's nothing compared to what is happening on the top side of the map. And Gen.G coming up huge here with this lane swap, and that allows Canyon the room to invade as well.
Chovy 2 years ago would never. Chovy 2024. He'll take a small cut of that CS.
And he's still up towards the top of the CS leaders, if that's a thing. Canyon, okay, just pick up that red buff. But yeah, already Gen.G coming out with the cool strats here. A lot of lane prio, a lot of swapping around. You see that Chovy's back in mid, and now looking to make a play here. We do have the Viego nearby. Canyon looking to commit onto Faker, but he's Azir, so he's just going to get away.
He doesn't have his teleport back just yet, though, so we'll have to shuffle away, and is going to lose a lot of lane prio for this. Wants to stick around here at half health. Chovy's fairly low on mana. It is a Corki after all, so we don't know if this is necessarily going to lead to anything here, but Owner was bottom side there, gets nothing, as Rumble's able to clear the wave, and once again, pays top side. And Gen.G's kind of running circles around T1 right now with that lane prio, and it's fairly simple to play out. Yeah, and they're really just not missing a whole lot. I mean, Gen.G is so famous for getting every piece of gold on the map. They know how to farm efficiently as a unit. Generation Gaming, more like gold generation for Gen.G.
What's also big is because of that, Gumayushi hasn't really been able to cash out yet, and I think in a 2v2, in a 3v3, if you're able to rotate and be the one on the play, I think you have a pretty good shot at isolating a target, someone like FaZe, even with the cleanse, if you have Owner there, if you have Keria there. But if you're always trying to catch up to what Gen.G is doing, you're not going to be able to. And if you get into a mid to late game team fight, and there's like a package available, there is an equalizer and an ignite, For Draven, it's so hard to pilot. If you end up going down before you cash in that passive, the champion just doesn't feel like it has nearly the same impact.
Yeah. By the way, we are going to have rocket belts here most likely for the Rumbles, so I advise Huni to close his eyes before we see the rest of the build. But yeah, he's just going to be really mobile. We see this most often into Aatrox just to get away from him, right? And to have closing the distance potential onto some AD carries like the Draven. So especially now that he's laning directly against the Draven in a 1v1, seems pretty topical. Obviously, he doesn't have that rocket belt just yet.
He sees what Guma's like, oh, I gotta stay away from this one. He's Flash, Ignite, and Swifty, so if he gets on top of you, you're not getting away.
No, you're not getting away, and, you know, obviously the Hextech Alternator actually does a decent amount of damage, too, as a component, you know, before the build comes online. The trade-off isn't really there. Zeus now barely in a dangerous position as Lehens does have ultimate, but will not commit to the play as Keria is nearby.
We got a little play maybe being set up here, but Chovy still with Flash, and just the fact that he is Corki. That's why you oftentimes do see this 1v1. And, yeah, this lane is not going too well for Guma.
And the Hex Drinker itemization for Zeus is going to be completely worthless against the Kalista in the lane matchup, and I mean, this is just something that you look at, you see the extra advantages here for the lane swap coming through in a big way, and this just really hurts the Aatrox spikes in the mid-game.
And Rumble's farming for free. Corki's farming for free. The one big loser in this one does feel like the Aatrox, right? Zeus kind of unfortunate, just bullied very often early on. Yes, he didn't go down at first, but then he eventually got bullied in the 2v1 from the bottom lane showing up, and he's losing farm, and he's got a Hex Drinker against the Lethality Kalista. Like, there's so many things that you can list up as to why Zeus is going to get behind in this game. And Gen G, they just keep rotating. I mean, they're not even scared to send Keen back up to the top lane. Although, I think you do want to fight over these Drakes, especially because we did have an early Chemtech Drake.
Also, do you know, Gen G was able to pick up 6 grubs, so even a little bit of time alone with turrets is actually going to give you a substantial amount of pressure. Package is available, and you can try to play for this, try to get Guma a kill, but it is highly risky unless you want to TP Zeus in. I don't think they're going to do it.
It's double equalizer. Yeah. You got the package, you've got Rumble here, and he rotated down. He doesn't have TP, so there's just no way. I mean, T1 actually making the right play, I think, to just not fight that one.
Look at the trap.
And they are going to have to give that one up. So it is Cloud.
Oh, wait. Woo! Jump scare there. Thank you, Jonas Strong and the gang.
As always. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Valis, with the double equalizer essentially there with the Valkyrie, you know, turning into package and having the equalizer itself is just not something T1 could fight. And I think in a normal game state without the lane swaps, they probably would have been able to contest for Prio there, and Faker is going to be the man who controls the fight with the Emperor's Divide, but he's just not able to even get access to the Dragon Pit there. And with Guma having to constantly match these swaps, it's been very awkward as now Zeus again facing off against Keen, who's still significantly ahead in farm. The matchup doesn't get easier from here. He's bootsless at the moment against these Swifties, so if there's any angle for an all-in, Keen will take it.
On the flip side, for T1, the lead not necessarily insurmountable, and it really boils down, I think, to the question to who are you going to give the edge when it comes to the mid to late game team fights? Because I think there's parts of either comp that skills really well. I feel like Draven in late game team fights, especially if he's not fed, is going to have a really hard time, but obviously Zeus, we've seen him carry on the Aatrox in fights many a time. Faker on Azir has more highlights than most people have games on the champion. But then, when we look at Gen G, if there is one place where we have always been able to trust this team, throughout the last, 2.5 years, it's been the team fighting. It's been the way that they consistently can rely on Chovy to do so much in these fights. And thus far, the thing we're worried about, which is the bot lane, is doing great as well.
He's getting in there.
It's starting.
It is already starting. I mean, I suppose if you're a T1 fan, you can be happy he didn't get Azir, because it's not as much a playmaker here on the Corki, but he's already making an impact.
He's coming down, too, and
already ult. Yeah, I mean, the equalizer comes down, and now Faker, he's going to have to dash away, just barely dodges that big one. But now he's out of the lane, he's pushed away, and now we got to play mid lane as well as, oh no, the stacks! He is going to flash away, and he will survive, and Guma will not lose the Adoration stacks this time.
But he's flashless now. And I mean, this is a sick play here. They see an opportunity. They seize on it.
Punish!
A turn from T1, an attempt to try to get back in this one. Let's see if the flank out of Zeus is going to be good enough. Keen going back in, but Carrier trying to help him. Chovy just going to flash away. And it looks like Keen also going to go for the flash, but we got Owner on the way. We got a potential touchdown, and Guma from downtown going to pick up the kill.
Oh, what a set of plays. I would consider the Maokai ultimate coming across. It's not even that crazy. It's not even really some sort of sick aim here that's coming across. So he'll get 983 total. Extra gold, 643 above pays here from the play. But when you're rooted by the Maokai, you know that is going to be a guaranteed execute with the ultimate. Well planned here from T1. The punish play on point. Little bit of greed from Gen.G. And this time, T1 swing back, actually almost completely bringing the gold lead before that turret goes down back to even. Will be a trade of turrets, and Gen.G now only slightly the advantage.
Yeah, Gen.G are going to be able to get the first turret blood, but what a big win for T1 there as they almost take out Mr. President. He's like, no, I got this. Goes home. And crucially, I actually like the initial turn here a lot because someone is dying, no matter what here, for Gen.G. So the decision from Keen to try and turn it around, even without an equalizer with his Ignite, I think was a great call. But trying to actually get away there, if he just runs and ends up dying,
oh man,
would have been a much better...
He's so far away too.
Yeah, and you don't see it coming, but it's the Maokai that locks him down, and that was an absolute necessity for T1, because I think if that play ends up not working out, the cross map is better for Gen.G, you start to fall behind, and instead, at least Guma is a lot stronger.
Now, we'll still have to see if we can actually see T1 group up for a 5v5 fight, because the prio for Gen.G has been so oppressive. We haven't been able to see that just yet, and as this dragon spawns in 45 seconds, the Cloud Soul to start, Gen.G still have that prio. They still have the better group, and Guma won't be able to utilize that gold if he can't get into position. He's very low range to actually get it done. Keen will eventually take out that turret, so turret advantage does go over to Gen.G. They still maintain a pretty nice gold lead here and full control all over the map. They even have a Herald they can drop here in perfect timing with this dragon. So small win for T1, big win for Guma, but the map still belongs to Gen.G.
That's really the big thing. I mean, they were getting so many wins by the lane trades that they were taking before that fight happened, right? They pushed Faker away, they pushed Guma away, they forced double TP to the bottom side, so definitely a lot more control eventually going back to Gen.G, and now might be looking for a fight here on this Cloud Drain.
The item spike being hit there for Chovy, package available as well. That is going to be huge. How can they utilize that? Look at the itemization from Guma here as well. Actually going for shield though, knowing that there was going to be so much frag on him. Zay is also hitting full build, has his Profane Hydra at the ready. Oh, the old whiffs!
Yeah, Carrier not going to hit that one. The Maokai ultimate doesn't do anything either. And T1 now kind of scratching their heads as to if they do want to fight this one, especially with package available. I think you just got to give this one away.
You got to give it away, and this is the prio power here that T1 do not have.
Oh, a little close.
You can steal those with the arrows when the whole team's there. You got double smite with Carrier going for unseal, but you're not going to get it with the Draven this time around. A nice attempt nonetheless, but it's the control that Gen.G have over this pit, and the Maokai ultimate is always going to look a little bit silly if there's no one to follow up. Even with Faker having Emperor's Divide, they just don't have the vision to follow up. They know the package is there, and obviously the Poppy ultimate could have been huge. If you end up hitting one or two of those, then the Maokai ultimate comes down. You win those.
Ooh. Okay, I don't think we've ever really seen that before in the LCK, but it's going to dodge. Equalizer gets massive value, and now Faker in a lot of trouble. Down he will go, and that is going to be a big deal here as Gen.G continue the push. Rip Herald, Smith Herald, they say they're continuing to dive underneath the turret as Zeus trying to put up some kind of defense, but Gen.G will have the tier 1.
And here it is big that T1 heavily invested their ultimates. Like, yes, the ult from Faker stopped the charge, but he then gets hooked by Lahens. And because those ultimates were thrown towards the dragon, they can't actually contest in this mid fight. And against Honma Life, we saw T1 have some impeccable team fighting. But if you have a game state and you go, okay, it's Gen.G versus T1, it's 2-to-1 kills. You're like basically pretty even in gold, and Chovy's on Corki.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be favored?
And watch how this breaks out, because as you mentioned, the ults are down, and yes, Faker stops with Emperor's Divide. Lahens probably calls that instantly. Yo, he doesn't have Emperor's Divide. Let's dive this turret. We have Equalizer. I'm Nautilus. I'm going to look for these hooks. And Carrier here, just a feeble attempt to try to push them away, but takes so much damage. He's not buying items. That's not a farming Poppy. He's just not that tanky. All he's got right now is the Celestial opposition down to lock it, so he just gets burned down so quickly. There's no way for T1 to counterplay. I think that's a big difference between Gen G and T1 is, yes, Hanwha's team fighting in early skirmishes outplayed T1 a lot of the time, but in terms of map control in this draft's Cryo, Gen G are just not matched at the moment.
Definitely are not. I mean, it's a 2,000 gold lead here, and yes, T1 do have a Fed Draven, but it does feel like every other lane is just not really cutting it. Zeus has caught up in farm, but he doesn't have an assist. He doesn't have as much tower gold. Doesn't have as much control over the map. It's going to be difficult for him to find big flanks on the Aatrox from behind. Although it does feel like sometimes he just finds a way. So we'll have to wait and see, but. Yeah, certainly Gen G holding the reins on this one, but let's see as Keria is going to make a play, knocks up the Viego, no follow-up at all. Another huge equalizer going to come in as TP now from the side of Zeus, and Keria is burning down. Finally, Zeus gets in, but the Fate's Call comes out and saves the support that is Lahens.
Kinda cutting it close there was Gen G, looking for a pick on the Keria. As soon as that first pick comes in, Viego pops off, try to turn around, but not going to be the case, and that was a lot invested there in terms of summoners for Gen G.
I feel like the way you can describe this game state here is it is very easy for T1 with an already fed Draven and another Cashin stacking up here to come back in this game. All it takes is one team fight. All it takes is one mess up. And Gen G are walking a tightrope. The tightrope won't necessarily be able to control that, right? But if Gen G slip, if they stumble, if they mess up one fight, you're going to fall off the rope and fall down. And that's when T1 can come back. Guma can cash in. You end up winning those fights. Faker starts to get that second item online. And T1 are back in the game. A close call, as you say, and T1 really need to be ready for a punish any overextension here from Gen G. But the vision game is strong. The ward setup here for Gen G, insane. There's no flank wards for that Aatrox. You were mentioning that he has had fantastic flanks on the pick so far this season. Doesn't have teleport now, and there's nowhere to teleport for these objective fights if they can't get any map control back.
One thing that's big is that whereas Gen G's engage is really, really good. Like, they don't have the best front line, I think. Lance obviously is pretty squishy, can get focused down. We've seen that happen with the non-farming Nautilus. But they have a great way to snap engage fights. If you look at T1, that isn't really the case. I think their counter engage is really good. And obviously you can pick up individual members, as we saw with Canyon there on the Poppy, but once you lose control of the map, and look at the wards right now, look at the priority that's always there for Gen G. They play around these waves so beautifully. Once Gen G is set up in an objective and Corki just gets the poke, you are looking at a T1 that, unless they can get a big flank, unless Keria can somehow find an angle, or Faker with the Azir starts a fight, it is actually really hard to get to anyone. And if you look, I think only Keen is an easy target, because Pays, with the build he's gone for, actually will be hanging more towards the backline. Doesn't have to be in the thick of things the way a Kalista normally does.
You can see the difference in vision right now being very nicely pointed out by Jonah Strong. I think that probably the Korean cast is talking about it as well, because every time we're setting up for a dragon here, there's even a control ward in the top jungle, which they don't even necessarily need right now, but you're going to have package, you still have the rumble, and you have total control over the bottom river. How are T1 going to get in this time?
That's exactly what I was saying. I mean, look, the control ward here, even to the left side of the pit, is it necessary? No, but it's an extra layer of safety. What if Faker teleport flank to look for an Emperor's Divide? They don't have that angle. There's nothing here. There's no doors. There's no openings for T1.
Yeah, just trying to force it. They are going to get Banana Brush control here, but take a look at that double control ward in the Banana Brush as everybody is grouping up, and Jovi, he's got an angle. The hook comes in, and Keria is the target. He's not very tanky. He goes down immediately. And this frontline, Lahens, loses his Aftershock, but now you don't have Keria. It's a 5v4, and Gen G are looking at their second Cloud Burst.
The fights look the same. This is the same fight we just watched, but now Gen G have more gold. Now the damage is higher on that equalizer, and T1 trying to find that opening. It's just not there, and Guma? Can he get chunked down?
Yeah, he's isolated in mid. Jovi's looking for more. We got Lahens by himself. He's got Keen, but Keen is kind of leaving him to the dust as Lahens is in the pit, and now Canyon's just going to ult away. And now they look to take the fight. Genji getting back in, but Zayn is going so deep by himself, and he is going to go down alongside a Faker as Genji take the two of them in the bottom river.
And when it comes to team fighting, Gen G does not disappoint. T1 think they see a moment of weakness with Chovy chasing Guma, but the kills just don't come through.
And they're so close, and it's the tightrope walk I was talking. And Gen G, they don't slip, they don't fall over. You see this angle here, Equalizer is down when T1 decide to re-engage because of this pick here.
Oh,
meanwhile,
potentially, Jovi's going to go down here. That goes to the Poppy though. Guma not going to pick it up, and now go. We got Keen coming in. He's looking to punish the rest of them. That's a double kill for Keen. He's looking for a win in this first game.
Looks like Keria was the one to pick up the kill there onto Chovy as well, and so they're not going to actually end up getting that cash in before he goes down, so his adoration stacks now deleted. Again, a nice attempt here for T1, but you can see they are just looking for any opportunity they can to get picks here in this game, because the map control has been Gen G's from start to finish, and any opportunity they see, they have to seize on, and they will not just sit back and lose this game, but Gen G are winning out every single time they try. Now a near 4,000 gold lead.
And I gotta give credit to FaZe and Lahens, because I feel like they've stepped it up so much. They were by far the weaknesses of Gen G in playoffs. I think in regular split we saw some of it, but look at how they play out this skirmish. And I like this call from T1, because you have Chovy in mid, they see these low health bars, there might be an opportunity here. Kenyon is able to deny the resets to Zeus. And then here, look at Pace, that flash, the re-engage from Lance, Pace stepping back and then throwing back in Lahens. No resets for Zeus. Ends up being huge for Gen G.
And it was the moment, as this is just, some things stay
a little bit agreed.
Some things never change for Chovy, but
the T1 Baron, not to cut you off, Wolf, but T1 are going to go for a bit of a desperate play. I mean, Gen G are about 4,000 gold ahead, and maybe relying on Keria to knock some people away, but now he's just trying to keep them out of this one. Keen is not in the pit. Lahen's trying desperately, but that will go the way of T1. And now they're all in the pit. They're just trying to get out of this one. Gen G should be able to clean up some, as a kill will go towards FaZe. Canyon looking for a bit more, but he has gone pretty far. Now Keen coming in from the right side, looking to shut these two down. Might just be able to. Not the easiest targets with the Aatrox and the Azir, but eventually Zeus will fall. And they're looking for a bit more. Keen looking for the dive even. I mean, how far are they going to go on this one? I mean, they really want to take away all the Baron buffs here. As the flash comes out of Faker, and the Heads is going to go down, but now it's straight back. No, Canyon is going to live. And Faker looks to take him out. Does get the kill in the end, and Gen Z definitely way overextended that one.
Yeah, Chovy at TP. I don't know if they had to go that deep. They want to try and take down these Baron buffs. And the T1 Baron strikes again.
And this T1 Baron is premeditated on the idea that Keen shows bottom, doesn't have teleport. If Keen is there while they try to take that Baron, they 100% get equalized. Look at the health bars here, but they know Keen isn't here. It's going to take them a long time to come up. I think this is a great call from T1. All things considered, they are losing control of the game quickly. If they can rush this down, maybe Emperors divide their way out of here, there's a way they can finally get some semblance of map control off the Baron. But Gen G reacts much faster than Hanwha did. They are going to come over here, get the punish off, and yes, the Baron is secured. Gen G won the subsequent fight. Now, what happens next here is a little bit of an overextension, but still a quick reaction here from Gen G. Keen does show up with the equalizer.
Big thing there is the first half of this beautifully done. The sidesteps from Kenyon, hitting the projectile through the wall, the initial chase. But then here, Lahens, you can hear him cackling, but he goes a little bit too far. If the flash is up, you can't go for that play.
Yeah.
Faker's going to flash that 10 out of 10 times. And Kenyon, even if he would have had his stealth available, not going to make it out there. Not going to be the end of the world, but still, this means that T1 remains on relative parity. The downside, with all the kills going through, I don't think that they actually are in a position to heavily contest. They're going to try nonetheless, but they can't really contest the vision for this ocean, or for this Cloud Soul, rather.
Yeah, and Zeus trying to get some semblance of control, whatever he can. Doesn't have TP, doesn't have a TP ward either, so kind of just have to do this the old-fashioned way. But Gen G just trying to maintain control of this bottom river and say, okay, that was a little bit of a whoopsie. We went a bit far trying to take out all the Baron buffs, but we're not going to give you Cloud Soul. We're not going to give you a chance to make it into this river. So let's see if T1 finds a way.
It's going to be tough. I mean, they have package, they have teleport. Chovy's already here. I mean, you can't just give this one up, but you can't take it either. And once again, same fight, same choke point. Maokai ult to start.
Same Maokai ult, and Owner desperate to get in. They're trying to turn on Zeus, and they will immediately take him down. Now it's a 5v4. Canyon keeps it least, doesn't give Owner a chance, and the equalizer is beautiful once again. Guma getting zoomed in on a nice ult away by Keria. As they try to get in and steal the Cloud Drake away, at least they get something. But at the end of the day, Gen G still going to take down 2 members of T1.
And this late into the game, those kills might lead to more than just an inner turret going down here for T1. And we were getting very, very late into this game. T1 getting the Baron did spy them some time. They do end up getting this Dragon, which denies the soul. But it's just a great call from Gen G. The one difference in this fight to the last two with the Maokai start and everything repeating, right, is that Zeus decided to flank, but they identify that, push onto him first, and win the subsequent fight as Faker.
Okay, gonna get in onto Pace, and he's just backing in mid. It's a free shutdown for Guma.
And we have had the ruler spot for years in the LCK. I'm ready to dub that right there, the Pace spot. The light found in exactly the same spot. There's no objective up, but they might be able to take the mid lane turret off of that. And against T1, you can't afford to give these small little...
my.
Oh, God, yeah, Chovy is on. Malignance is here.
Oh, my Chovy.
Big thing here is that T1 are not letting Gen.G actually run away with the game. Crucially, due to no inhibitors going down just yet. I'm glad to see that Aatrox can in fact be focused down. That is very, very good to see. Owner here though.
이거 다 빠지긴 했는데 다 빠지기 3초.
And they're to come for this.
This is the calls, of course, on the smite shield. Immediately just all going to out, back, get out. And this is Faker, of course, catching Paze in the ruler spot. We have seen Paze himself really be the successor to ruler in so many ways. He's been caught in this position so many games, even against weaker teams in regular season.
You don't need to do everything that ruler did, Paze. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's played Kalista as ruler has once before, many times before, on a final stage.
Yeah.
And it does feel like he is a true successor here. The Royal Road of the back-to-back. He's never lost a season. Every season he's played and he's lifted a trophy. We'll see if he can hold that true once again, but is punched by Faker.
Trying to do something here, trying to set something up. It feels very nice to have a Nautilus, but not when there's a Poppy standing right there. T1 grouping up in the mid lane, maybe trying to make a play towards the Baron that is going to spawn in 30 seconds. That has been their favorite objective.
Big thing here is, as mentioned, with no Cloud Soul, it might have a fight brewing.
Oh boy, Owner just trying to walk away from this one. The equalizer is huge again, and Owner is going to be left out to dry. Nobody able to help him in that one.
Because Gen.G needs to find an inhibitor, they need to find the Baron, they need to find the Soul, something to truly break T1, because they are still holding on, and as long as Gen.G don't get that, I think you also see T1, they're not giving them anything for free here.
Yeah, and even though Zeus is 0 and 4, he's still a lethality Aatrox. He still will do a ton of damage if Faker can get a nice engage. Guma also, his damage output is insanely high, so it's not over till it's over, and T1,
vision.
Better group.
Chovy did just back, but he has TP, and should be looking to take this fight as well. Just pick up Shojins as the damage is about to rain through from the side of Chovy. Guma on the run as well, as that is going to be Carrier also just channeling the ult, going to reset that one. As Gen.G look to position on this objective, but Carrier now being chipped away as, Steadfast Presence going to help a bit, but he still has to flash away. Lehenge is going to be the one that has to be face called away. And that is a big cooldown, although he does have Axiom Arc, but I feel like T1 will be happy with that one, I suppose, at the end of the day.
I mean, this is the power of T1's comp, is Gen.G need time. Unless they can find an isolated target, they need poke to land consistently before they can actually kill anyone. They don't have strong engage outside of Lehenge, and with the damage output this late into the game, if Lehenge does go in, he will be burst down by the Draven. T1 control over this pit now. This is gonna start over, and Cannon, he's not tanky. There's no time here for the poke for Chovy. Equalizer has to be big.
This time around, Keen is here as T1. They're just trying to flip it. Carrier is going to knock away the jungler, and they do get the Baron again, but can you get out of the pit is the real question. Zeus, desperate, he is going to dash over the wall, and Owner will be left out to dry once again. It's a double for Chovy, but at least T1 get the Baron?
It's something that Humble Life couldn't fix, the objective control of T1, and they are to do it again. We look at this comp of T1, and you see how hard it is to get on top of an objective. There's Maokai, there is the zoning of Faker, there is a Poppy, and every single time T1 has been able to use one of these tools, and now again they're going to be able to stall out.
Yeah, they stall it out. Now I feel like T1 had an opportunity to actually turn this fight. Instead of trying to focus the Baron, they decided not to, though, as they do have to deal with that equalizer. Very tough to win this fight in the pit. They also don't have the Maokai flash just yet. It's just coming online, so Owner not able to get out. Otherwise, we'll love to see him just flash out right away, but he didn't have it to escape. Now T1 with those respawns coming through, Gen.G will be able to get the Cloud Soul here. But again, we haven't really been convinced by 5v5 fights here when T1 have control of the objectives. If this Baron can get them map control back and prio, this game could slowly start to go back into T1's control despite the Cloud Soul. It's going to make it a little bit tougher. Gen.G still in the driver's seat, but I think we need to see an inhibitor go down, as you said, Chronicler.
I do think, though, Cloud Soul for Baron and the kills is probably not worth it. Because of the early kills, they're not actually able to utilize the pushing power of this Baron at all.
Yeah.
So if you don't get an inner, if you don't actually meaningfully pull back on this gold, it's going to make it really hard. They might be able to get an inner turret here, but Gen.G, because of the counter push, is still able to make sure that, I think outside of this inner, they're not really going to give a whole lot up. The goal remains dead even, but I think Cloud Soul, with the rotations, is going to make it so much harder for T1 to be as turtly as they've been thus far.
Oh, I agree, and I think the Rumble, obviously, who doesn't have teleport, is going to be the biggest winner of all of this, and will get huge benefits when he uses his equalizer as well in these team fights now. It does give a little bit more rotational power to Gen.G, but T1 still get that inner. It's an inner for inner here at 35 minutes. And, I mean, this game may come down to just the Elder fight in 5 minutes, and all of the advantages that Gen.G had all game long, all of the map control, hasn't led to late-game teamfight wins that are decisive enough for them to actually get these inhibitors down. Still in control of the map, but T1, they're hanging on by a thread, and the fact that they even have that chance at all here speaks to their resilience.
Yeah, and the fact that they have really perfected just going for Barons at the right time. It feels like a lot of our teams just don't know exactly how to handle it, and they've gotten away with it again and again and again. It's 2 Barons for the side of T1 from a losing position, and it's only game 1. We've already seen this a lot here in the playoffs. Is now T1 getting a little bit of value out of that Baron push down in the bottom side. The Azir kill on the top side turret, and now one for Zeus in the bottom side.
Good map reads here from T1. You know, the ult here from Draven slows down the push here top side. They've grabbed now a second inner turret off of this Baron. It's a decent Baron, considering they lost the fight, lost Cloud Soul.
It's all going to come down to execution in the final fight, because we're getting to the point where death timers are going to be so long. Yes, most of Gen.G's base is still standing, but if you have a top wave, if you have a bot wave, you're still going to be able to take the highway straight in. And the big thing here, looking at the cooldowns, we're slowly getting to the point where I think when we are going to fight over that next Baron, where everything besides Guma's flash is going to be up 41, might even be available actually in about 2.5 minutes. And Chovy is about to finish his Void stuff as well. Guma doesn't even need boots. Seemingly he's just happy running around with his 5 items.
It's fine.
Really, he's basically just playing the role of an ult bot, maybe get an X or 2 in. Faker's death cap already done. We're getting to full item builds here across the board.
Uh-oh. Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble here. TP behind him. The knockup comes in, and now Faker is here for the punish. Chovy desperate to do damage, but he goes down. And now a fight up on the top side. Gen.G looking to fight back, and they should be able to take out Honor. That they will. And that will make it a 4v4, but you just took out Chovy, who loses his flash, and it's a 1-for-1 trade, but it does feel good for the side of T1. It is going to delay things. There's no objective for now, so neither team can really do anything with this information.
The flash is down for Chovy now, and that's a pretty big win for the side of T1. That teleport that was set up by the earlier ward there from T1 comes through big, and they're able to punish Chovy once again. It hasn't been the first time this game where he's been pushing a little bit too aggressively. Gen.G do get the turnaround. Well, this is definitely, again, advantage T1 buying time across the map, getting this critical flash. As you mentioned, Chronicler, Gumas will be back up, and that last fight is all that matters.
We saw yesterday as well that first game so incredibly hard fought, and this turn from Gen.G is essential, because if you're a member down, I think T1 is going to try and push, and a single mistake can mean an inhibitor or possibly even the base. So actually taking down Owner, who in of himself, not necessarily the most important member, but he provides so much utility and makes it so much harder to actually get on that backline. So you see it provides, allows setup for Zeus and Faker as well, so still really important pick-off for Gen.G and T1. This Baron, I mean, again, the control's there for Gen.G, but I don't know if they're actually going to be able to, they haven't been able to secure it yet.
They need time, and I think they need to put Chovy, in position to actually get some poke damage done with these rockets before the fight happens, because if the fight starts without him, he's a package button and that's it, and they won't have it for Elder if T1 just disengage. So very tricky fight to play out now here for Gen.G, and T1 that just walk up and say, my control actually, my wave.
No package.
Yeah, no package for now, and Guma, he's nearly going to dodge that stun from the Viego, but Owner might just have to eat it. So much survivability on his side, though he will get away. And the Fate's Call will be utilized. Lahen's going back in. Keria trying to keep him safe as Faker's going on a little roller coaster ride right now. Not sure about that one, but Keen has to go into the Zhonya's as the Soldier's a bit too early from the side of Faker, and Keen will get away, but he has to flash to survive.
Gen G just don't have consistent damage really in this comp. They're playing the lethality Kalista, and if they don't get that initial burst pick when the equalizer goes down, when they go into the engage, you can see the turn from T1, and the re-engage is so insanely strong. And it's not the first time we've seen that in this game, as Gen G had so much control. You watch how these fights break out. They look for the engage. Equalizers early here. And then Owner, he's just so tanky. He's like, what, 0-5 this game? And it doesn't matter. He just walks it off here. And then look at the turn. Look at the damage coming out here from Guma. If Faker finds an angle there, they might win the game off.
They're doing Baron here on the side of Gen G. This fight was very close.
Might be gone. It's very late in the game.
T1, they don't seem to know that this is happening. Keria trying to get some vision in, and finally they're going to know, but it is too little and too late. 15 seconds until the Elder, and Gen G get it at the perfect time.
Oh, but they need to back though. They might get a trade.
Let's see what they decide to do.
Look at the help of Pace.
Thinking about a fight here is Gen G, but Jovi's got to be timing out on that package. It's like 5 seconds away, and T1 can just wait that one out. Zeus down on the bottom side here of the map. Might actually be caught out a little bit, but he is going to dash away.
This is it.
Banana breath control.
No vision, a lot of poke.
Uh-oh. Zeus
on the flank.
Like I was saying, he's caught out on the bottom side. He's just going to go down pretty much for free. Look at him. He's on the run. And T1, they can't rush down an Elder like that. That's going to be a free Aatrox. And now it's a 5v4 for Gen G.
Looks like Exodia might be on the menu here. I mean, T1, they have to win this fight without their top laner.
Uh-oh, Lahen's.
They don't know.
The guy. He wants to make the play. He's going to get in that back line. Presses his R button. Guma just dies immediately anyway. And Gen G, it looks like they have done it for game number 1. Massive divide, though. And a chance here, but so much damage as Quadra comes down from the side of Faker. And that might just keep this game alive, actually, as Chovy is still chasing the Poppy. The knockaway comes through, and Keria will live.
What a play from Faker! He picks up, what, like 1,300 gold in less than a second off of champion kills. Tosses in the Emperor's Divide and does massive damage. They're so patient. That's the ghost right there! Crouching Tiger hitting Faker now on the flank. They chased too deep. He said no. Gen G still get a huge win here, but T1 just will not go down in this first game.
And it looks perfect. Zeus finally, his flanking ways catch up with him. Guma gets the lead in a second, and they get overexcited. They think they can just chase Lahen's and Canyon going in. But a three-man shuffle. The Soldiers do the work. Faker at this point is full build effectively.
Oh my god. He goes back in, does the extra damage, flashes away, gets one more auto, and it's just barely perfect for the side of Faker to keep this one alive. And now T1, they are on the Elder. They're the ones in control of this objective. Canyon not going to get over the wall here as he is actually barely. Canyon is going to get in. Do they have the damage to execute them with this Elder is the question. It looks like yes, as Faker also will go down. And he's got a highlight in this game, but he will not have a win. Gen G will take game number 1.
T1 is tenacious, but Gen G will not lose this first game.
Just like the first game in our previous series yesterday, T1 fought hard. They had advantages at times, but it was Gen G from start to finish with map control. Their pile too big to fail, and ultimately, yes, Faker gets a Quadra, but they regroup. Canyon, the man of the hour, takes the Elder and wins the game for Gen G. What a series we may have if this first game